Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
This is Rhonda Ohlson from Woman Shine. It's lovely to see you here today. And today we're going to be doing a lovely lesson to help you free up your ribs, the upper body, the arms, and open your heart. I wanted to do these series of lessons with you just to help you deal with the anxieties and stresses that we're all facing at this time. And I think one of the best things that we can do is to come back into our body doing the lessons like this, like the Feldenkrais. So just feel how you're giving your weight to the floor this morning. So the music I've got playing in the background is called Eternal A by Chloe Goodchild. And it's a sort of a drone sound that'll help to ground you and connect you into your body. Just sense how you're lying and notice, make sure you're comfortable. Like I can see Claire has a roller under her knees to support her lower back. And you may need to have something under your head. If you feel your head's tilted back, chest, the chin is tilted back. Just notice how you're lying, and your breath will give you a good indication of how you're feeling. Like if you feel that you can breathe easily, it'll help you center and balance yourself. So just notice how your heels are touching the floor, how your calves are touching the floor. Feel the back of your knees, are they touching the floor? Are they lifted up a little bit? Notice how your thighs are resting on the floor and your buttocks. Feel the space behind your waist. Notice your shoulders and sense how your arms are lying on the floor. And just be aware of the right side of your body. Notice how your right heel is touching the floor, the back of your right calf, the space behind your right knee, your right upper leg. Good morning, Anne.
Hello, sorry I got
That's okay.
I'll just settle.
Just settle. Yeah, we've only just started, so we're just doing the scanning, body scan. So,
thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good position. I like your shirt. So sense how the right side of your body touches the floor and your ribs on the right side. So we call our ribs in our culture a cage, but that's not really, our ribs aren't a cage at all. They're actually flexible and can move. So do you feel any sense that your ribs can move as you're breathing, as you're lying there? And can you feel some of the ribs press into the floor and some are more connected into the floor? Just notice that. Some press a little bit more heavily into the floor than others, and maybe some of those lower ribs don't even touch the floor. How does your right shoulder press into the floor? How much of your shoulder can you actually feel? You may feel that just one point is touching the floor. So notice if you feel maybe more the inside of your shoulders touching the floor, or maybe the outside is touching the floor. And now sense the left side of your body, sense your left heel on the floor, your left calf, back of your left knee, your thigh, the weight in your left buttock. Feel the space underneath the waist on the left side, how your lower ribs are touching the floor, your shoulders, and how your left arm is lying. Feel the point of contact of your head on the floor. And how does your left side compare to your right side? Just notice if there is any difference. And very gently roll your head to the left and back to the center, and to the right and back to the center. And notice how that movement feels today. Is there any difference in the way your head rolls? Does it roll more easily to one side than the other? And how far down through your body can you feel that movement of the head rolling? Is it just the head that moves, or can you feel any movement in the thoracic area? I'm just going to mute myself. I'm just going to see if I can mute. I'm just trying to work out how I can mute you without you having to get up. Let me just see here.
I can mute me.
You can mute you?
Yeah.
Sorry, there's some way that I can do it, but I'm not sure how to do it.
It's supposed to have a thing that says mute all or something.
What is it?
It should say somewhere mute all.
Yeah, I know it should, but I can't see where that is.
Hi.
Hello. Who's that?
Hi. Eventually, I've been
Sue, hello.
Good to see you.
Happy to see you too. Just trying to work out how to mute everyone, participants. Oh, I can hear it is. Mute all. There it is. I found it. Good.
Great.
Okay. I should have turned the recording off doing that. Never mind. I just okay. So we're just doing a little scan, Sue, and if you can find yourself, see how everybody else is positioned on the floor a little bit further back so I can see you. Even if you lie on a couch or something, or on the floor, somewhere where I can see you. So Sue, if you can move back a bit or move your camera so that I can see you when you're lying on the floor.
Without being plugged in, I'm having trouble with Wi-Fi. So as long as I can see you, I'll...
Okay, you'll be right. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Okay. Okay. So just begin a little movement of sliding your right arm down towards your feet, in the direction of your feet. Just a small movement, and just noticing how you do that movement. What moves as you do that movement? You may feel a movement in your right arm sliding down. You may feel your right shoulder sliding on the floor. It doesn't have to be a big movement, just a small movement. Feeling, do your ribs move? Are you aware of your collarbone making any movement? And does your head, what does your head do? Does it roll, or does it slide, or not do anything? So you're just sliding the arm just gently in the direction of that of your right heel, just feeling the initiation of the movement. So can you widen the field of attention to be aware of what's happening underneath your right armpit? And feel those changing shape of the ribs. And as you do the movement, can you just let your head roll a little bit to the right? And sliding your arm down, just paying attention to what's happening again on the ribs on that side. So the ribs are more like an accordion than a cage. So can you get that sense that these ribs can be soft and flexible and pliable and move more like an accordion? And can you move your attention from the right side of the ribs to what's happening on the left side? So feeling as those that the ribs on the right, may notice that you get shorter on that right side, and then noticing what happens on the left side as you do that movement. And just pause and let your legs come long and your arms rest. And notice if that movement has changed, how you're lying on the floor a little bit. Has anything happened in your breathing? Bend up your knees again, so your feet are flat on the floor. And do this same movement of reaching with your right arm, but instead of rolling your head to the right, can you let your head just slide to the right, as if it's on wheels, and it's just sliding across, so the nose stays pointing towards the ceiling, and just sliding your head to the right. So you're just doing a little sliding movement to the right. So your right ear doesn't come closer to the floor, it stays at that same equidistant from the floor. And feeling again what's happening when you do it, the movement this way, what happens in your ribs on the right side and what happens to the ribs on the left side. Does one part of you get heavier on the floor or one part get lighter on the floor? What happens in your collarbone? And notice as you slide the right shoulder down, what happens to the left shoulder. So for many people, our chest can become pretty rigid, and especially at this time when we're anxious. So we want to just gently invite our ribs to become part of that movement. Not by forcing them into submission, but to just allow that unwinding to happen. And as we get more freedom of movement in the ribs, we get more freedom of movement in the neck and the shoulders and throughout the whole body. Let's have a little rest. Let your legs come long, unless you'd rather have them bent up. Okay. So Anne, are you comfortable with your head like that, tilted back, or do you want something under your head? Are you all right like that? Just sort of, yeah, just like, you just look like you're just tilted, your head's tilted back a little bit. And maybe when you're moving, we start moving, you can shift that roller, but just, yeah, just to, does it make it easier to breathe like that? Yeah, okay, all right. Okay. This time bend up your right knee and put your right foot standing. And press your right foot into the floor to lift the right side of your hip and come back. So you're just lifting, pressing your right foot into the floor and noticing as you press the right foot into the floor, can you become aware of the left side pressing? You could actually press the left side into the floor to help the right side to lift. So you're pressing the right side of the foot into the floor, the weight goes on to the left side of your hip. And can you do this with the knee staying vertical? So the knee stays facing towards the ceiling as you do this movement. So it's a lovely opening up of your hip joint as well. And noticing what happens in those lower ribs, in your upper ribs, noticing, sensing what's happening in your breastbone, maybe sensing how the weight is shifting onto the opposite shoulder. And can you keep both shoulders on the floor so the movement happens? It's a constraint that we make. The movement happens through your body. And then allowing yourself just to come back and settle on the floor. Just feel how the right ribs are involved in that movement and how the left ribs are involved in the movement. And can you find a place for your foot that allows the movement to be easy? You might want it a little bit closer to your body or a bit further away. Just find where can you put your foot so that the lifting of the pelvis is easy. And can you feel what's happening in your spine as you're doing that movement? How this little twisting happens through your spine. So you're just feeling how this pressure of the foot moves through you. Can you sense whether there's any movement in the ribs as you're doing this? And which ribs can you feel moving? And can you feel as you lift the right foot, push the right foot into the floor rather, that the ribs come closer to the floor on the left side? And just rest, but leave your leg up, leave your foot standing. And can you do both of these movements together now? Press gently through the right foot to lift up the right hip on the right and slide your right arm down towards your foot. So you're doing both of these movements together. And just allow your head to do whatever it wants to do at the moment, whether it wants to roll or whether it wants to slide, just let it do. So just do this movement a couple of times, just sliding your right arm towards the foot. And just you may want to move that thing under your head, and now just it might make the movement a little bit easier. So. And does the lifting of the hip influence the movement in the ribs at all? Does it help you feel, in particular, how those lower ribs can move? Does it influence the shape of the ribs? And can you bring your lower ribs into the picture and feel what's happening in those lower ribs? So your pelvis could drive the movement a little bit. And remember, the coming back to the floor is just a gentle releasing. And so you sink down into the floor like sand in an hourglass before you start the movement again. Now, if you place your right hand onto those lower right ribs and stop them from moving, just put your hand there and just really press on them, stop them from moving, and feel what happens if you try and lift the hip. If you push through your right foot and you actually stop those ribs moving. How much joy there isn't in the movement, how difficult it is. And this is how many of us are. We have this tightness in the ribs, and so we go to move our body and it's like we're moving with the brakes on. And now, instead of stopping the ribs moving, could you use your hand, even the opposite hand, doesn't matter which one, whichever one you could find more, helps you more easily. As you lift up the right side of your pelvis, could you just use the other hand to just gently suggest to those ribs that they could move a little bit, they could be part of that movement. And maybe you could put one hand on your ribs and one hand on your breastbone to feel how, my ribs can move and my breastbone can move. And as I push the foot into the floor, yeah, my ribs can move and my breastbone can move. And it might make you take a little breath, feeling, sensing that movement. And just letting that go, coming back to the floor and having a rest. Let your leg come long and rest. Sensing how you're lying on the floor. Noticing your breathing. How does the right side of you compare to the left side of you? Bend up your knees once again. And this time slide your left arm down towards your left heel. And then when you've done the left side a couple of times, just do it on the right side and see if you can notice any difference. And where does your attention go when you slide your arm? Is it in the arm moving, or does your attention go somewhere else? Could you think of the movements beginning in the ribs, for instance? Or maybe you could think of the movement with the shoulders moving. Or maybe you could think of the sternum, the collarbone, what it does, how it moves in the movement. And can you roll your head to the left as you slide your arm down to the left a few times? And now instead of rolling your head as you slide to the left, can you slide your head as you slide to the left? Slide your head to the left. And notice as you slide your head to the left, what happens to your sternum, your breastbone. You feel how the bottom of the sternum slides a little bit more than the top of the sternum. And just let it go and rest. Let your legs come long. And again, notice your breathing and how you're resting on the floor. Bend up your left knee now. And push through your left foot, keeping the knee vertical. And notice what it's like on this side. Is it different from the other side? So you're just pushing through the left foot this time and feeling as you push through the left foot, what can press more into the floor to help that movement. You feel how the right side, the right hip could press into the floor, right side of your buttock. Maybe your ribs on the right press more into the floor. Feel what it's like on this side. Can you feel the movement up through your spine and around your waist area? Feel what happens in your breastbone. And can you keep your shoulders relatively on the, fairly on the floor, not moving your shoulders too much, so that you get the movement around those shoulders, so that the ribs start to slide over those shoulder blades. Feeling how the weight goes more onto the opposite side. Can you sense your collarbones and what they're doing in this movement? And what does your head want to do? Just let it do whatever it wants to do. How high up through the spine can you feel this movement? And now can you combine both those movements? So you're pushing through your left foot and you're sliding your left arm down at the same time. And feel how that movement is. Sliding your left arm down. Notice how the ribs move, how the breastbone moves. And again, can you just do that little movement of holding those ribs on the left side so that they don't move? And just stop them moving. And then feel what happens when you try and do the movement, when you stop the ribs from moving. And now, as we did on the other side, just encourage these ribs to move. And maybe you can have one hand on the ribs and one on the sternum, so you feel how, as the ribs move, the sternum moves. So you're waking up this middle of your body, waking up these ribs. And notice what your eyes are doing as you're doing this movement. They're looking towards the ceiling, or are they moving as you're moving? What are your eyes doing? And can you do the movement letting your head slide rather than roll? And making it one integrated action that both are happening together. You're not doing one after the other, although we do that in some lessons, but in this one we're doing both of them together. You're lifting the hip and you're lowering the arm. And just come back on your back and rest. Notice your breathing. Notice how you're lying on the floor now. Is anything changing the way you're lying? And these movements are like an opening and an arching of your back in a sense. So if you're feeling there's too much stress in your lower back, maybe just bring your knees over your chest and release any tension there. If you're feeling that would be helpful to you. Just rolling your legs and easing any tension in your lower back. Okay. So this is always a lovely little movement to do. Just bringing your knees over your chest to release tension in your back. Okay, bend up both your knees and stand your feet comfortably again. Just a comfortable distance apart. So your feet are on the floor and your knees are bent. And can you alternate these movements, sliding? Your hands are sort of like reaching down towards in the direction of your feet. You're sliding down one side and you're sliding down the other side. Sliding the left arm towards the left foot and the right arm towards the right foot. And can you push through the feet as you do that, so that as you slide your right arm down, you're pushing through the right foot and the right side of your pelvis lifts. And as you slide the left arm down, you're pushing through your left foot and the left side of your pelvis lift. You're just sliding from one side to the other. Just going slowly. Feel how the parts of you start to relate to each other, how they connect. So what happens when we get stressed, some parts get tight and we're disconnected from ourselves, and we're working on operating on 2 cylinders instead of 6 or something. And notice what you do with your head as you do this movement. You could roll your head, like let the head roll as you go from side to side, or your head could slide, just noticing what you do. And are you clenching your jaw? Are you breathing as you do the movement? Is there any place where you're holding any tension? Can the movement be light and easy? And if you feel that you're efforting doing the movement, just do less and just slow the movement down. And feel how one shoulder blade, as you go to the right, your right shoulder blade slides down on the floor, and as you go to the left, your left shoulder blade slides down on the floor. And just have a rest. Let your legs come long and rest. Notice your breathing. The parts of you that are touching the floor now, and noticing is anything changing. Okay. Bend up your knees once again, and can you interlace your hands above your head, just a few inches above your head, so that the thumbs are resting on the floor. And very gently just slide your arms across to the right, so that your right upper arm comes close to your right ear, but your head isn't moving. And you're sliding your left arm towards, just then slide your left arm towards your left ear. And feeling what moves as you do that movement, so that the head is fixed. And can you feel as you do that, that there's some movement happens in the shoulder blades, and some movement you may notice happening in the ribs, so that you may feel that as your right arm comes close to your right ear, that your right shoulder blade slides up. and comes closer to the spine, and as your left shoulder slides down, moves a little bit away. And when you do the opposite, the left shoulder slides up, the right shoulder slides down. So this is a movement, it's called creating a constraint to encourage the part of your body to move that may not normally move very easily. And where does your attention go as you're sliding your arm? Do you think only of the arm, or could you feel that connection of your arm to your collarbone? The collarbone to your sternum, where the collarbones meet the sternum in the middle, and then how the sternum connects into your ribs. And now can you let your head be part of that movement? I'd let your head roll as you roll to the left as you reach with your left arm, and roll to the right as you reach with your right arm. And just sense how that movement moves, and then turn the head around the other way. Now, instead of doing the rolling of the head, could you slide the head as you do the movement? Let the head slide so the nose stays towards the front, and you're just sliding. The head slides from side to side. And notice, can you track what's happening in the sternum? Does the sternum stay in the middle, or does it lift, or does it lower? Does it tilt? And can you feel how the top of the sternum is going in one direction and the bottom of the sternum is going in the other? And just let it go and have a rest on the floor. Notice how you're lying on the floor now. Parts of you that are in contact with the floor and the parts that are lifted up. Notice your breathing. And notice do you feel that there's a bit more flexibility, like softness in your chest, so that the breath could come in more easily? I think when we get the stress that we're under in these extraordinary times, we kind of close off from life and don't let the breath come in either. So our chest tightens and we don't breathe. But by doing this little movement, we soften the chest and allow ourselves to inspire the breath and to open our heart and come back into ourselves. Okay, bend up your left knee and stand your left foot now. And just push through your left foot to lift up the left hip and come back. Keep the knee vertical. And just feel what that movement's like now, up through your waist, the spine, your waist, the lower ribs, and on the left side. And feel, from having done that little movement with the arms, whether it's made any difference to how you do this movement. Is the movement getting a little bit lighter and easier to do? And now just slide the left arm down as you lift the left hip, and let your head do whatever it wants to do, and feel what that movement's like. How up through your spine do you feel this movement? What are you aware of moving? Can you feel the pelvis moving, the lower ribs, sternum, how the bottom part moves across more than the top part? You may even be able to sense that these ribs are now sliding over the top of your shoulder blades. So So you're doing this in both parts together. So the upper part and the lower part are coming together. And let go and come back on your back and rest. Sensing how you're lying on the floor now. Noticing your breathing. And this time, can you bend up your knees once again, standing your feet a comfortable distance apart, and alternate those two movements. So your both knees are bent up and your arms are by your side, and you're, say, lifting up the left side of your pelvis, sliding your left arm down, lifting up the right side of your pelvis, sliding your right side down. And just let the head move however it wants to move. Can you do the movement without clenching your jaw? Can you feel how one shoulder blade goes up and the other goes down? And just rest. And now, I'll let you keep your knees bent up, I meant to say. Have your knees bent up again. And can you bring your feet a little bit wider and closer to you? A little bit wider apart and closer to you. So that they're still on the floor, but they're just on the floor a little bit wider apart and closer to you. And can you reach down with your right arm so the right arm goes in the direction of your right heel? Now, you may or may not be able to reach it, so it doesn't matter. It's just sort of like you're just sliding your right arm down. The knee stays fairly well towards the ceiling, reaching your right arm down in the direction of your right heel. And if you can reach the right heel, just stay there holding your right heel. If you can't reach it, just come to it, let your hand rest on the floor wherever it can rest easily. And in this position, can you very slowly and gently lift up your right hip, press your right foot into the floor so you lift up your right hip. And then lower it. And if that feels that it's too difficult, maybe move your arms back a little bit. Not quite so. And feeling how, as you do this movement, it's an amazing movement, because what it does, the shoulders are in the actual pushing through, the hand and the heel are together, touching each other. So you've got this constraint, the shoulders are fixed. And as you're pushing through the foot, you've got a chance for the pelvis and ribs to move in such a way that the ribs can slide over your shoulder blade. So it's a great way of differentiating, of moving these upper ribs that don't usually get much movement. Can anyone feel that's happening? Just put your hand up if you can. Just sort of, yeah. Okay. So just playing with that movement and feeling, can you invite parts of you to move? Suggest to parts of you to move that may not usually move. So we're just on the right side for the moment. And what you're paying attention to is what's happening to those ribs underneath that are on top of your shoulder blades. Your shoulder blade's on the floor, the upper part of the shoulder blade. Those ribs are sliding across them. Can you feel that sliding across? And how can you soften your ribs to enable this movement to be easier and lighter? So you're doing the movement very gently, not forcing anything. And then just rest, let your legs come along and rest. So my daughter yesterday was, she's been working at home and she talks a lot on the phone to people, and she's been having a head on the side like this, talking on the phone. Even though she's got headphones, she forgets to use them sometimes. And last night she had a bit of a headache, and I looked at her neck, and she was just really locked up in this upper thoracic area, which was then stopping her neck from moving. And it's just she's been at the phone like this. So this is a great movement to get that freedom of movement through there. I did something like this with her, and it just released that tension in the neck. And then she became aware of, oh, that's what I've been doing. Sometimes when we do these lessons and something starts to move that hasn't moved for a while, we get a flashback of how we created that pattern in the first place. And for me, this lesson is an amazing lesson because I've had that whiplash injury and also broken my collarbone. So any movements like this that get this upper thoracic to differentiate, to stop getting fixed and held and rigid, are very useful. And of course, this is the area where each of our vertebrae relate to different organs in our body, and the lung vertebrae is the second thoracic vertebrae. So it's right just, here, and the heart's underneath that. So our heart, lungs, and of course, when we're emotionally stressed, this is the area that will tighten up. So as we find this freedom of movement in our physical body, it enables us to feel that freedom in our emotional body and come back into that center and balance ourselves. Bend up both knees again. And let's now bring the left arm down in the direction of taking your feet a bit wide apart, the left arm down in the direction of your left heel. And it may be different on this side. You may be able to reach it or you will not. So your hand may reach the heel, your hand may be able to reach the ankle, or you may be a couple of centimeters away from your foot. It doesn't matter. So when you come to a point where you can rest on the floor, where your hand rests on the floor, so it's fixed, it's not moving, which means your shoulders blade's not moving. And now very gently begin that movement of lifting up the left side of your pelvis. So lifting the left side of your pelvis and noticing how, as you lift the left side of your pelvis, those lower ribs start to move, and then that travels up and the upper ribs get a chance of sliding across the left shoulder blade on the floor. Going very gently, very slowly. You don't want your left shoulder blade to be lifting off the floor, keeping it on the floor. And the ribs are sliding. And so the knee stays facing towards the ceiling, and the opening happens in that hip joint. So it's like you're letting your round belly push out. The opening happens in the hip joint, and the ribs slide across that shoulder blade. And the coming back is just as important. So you're letting, as you do the movement, and then you let the ribs slide back. So you're feeling that movement as well. And you come back resting on the floor. Then you let yourself settle and begin the movement again. What can you soften? Can you soften your jaw? Can you breathe? Can you allow that space to come where these ribs slide across the shoulder blades? So you've got a muscle underneath the where the ribs and the shoulder blades join, and this is a muscle that often gets tight with singers as you're holding and bracing. And so this is a wonderful movement for the voice as well. I teach this when I teach voice work as well. How to free the body, so this part opens up here. When I broke my collarbone, I couldn't sing because everything was tight. I had a plate in my shoulder, and plus the emotional things that were happening. And to be able to sing, we need that freedom in the body as well. And can you feel different parts of yourself waking up as you do that movement? Just allowing them. Wake up to yourself. Learn where you hold tight. Wake up to yourself. There's no need to fight. Feel it like it is. tighten even more. Learn to be aware and you'll open every door. Pay attention to yourself by being kind. Let go all those judgments, leave the past behind. Come on now, surrender your mind. Just let all the tension unwind. Wake up to yourself, learn where you hold tight. Wake up to yourself, there's no need to fight. Feel it like it is, tighten even more. Learn to be aware and you'll open every door. And just come and settle back on the floor again. And feel how you're coming to the floor now, how the left side of your body feels, how the right side feels. Noticing your breathing. Especially that breathing in this upper thoracic area, can you feel that you've got maybe a little bit more space in your ribs, freedom of movement there. And for the last time, just bend up both your knees. And just do that initial movement we did of sliding your right arm down towards the right and your left arm down towards the left. And just notice how that movement feels now. Sometimes when I do this lesson, I feel like when I start off, the brakes are on. And when I finish, it's like the brakes are off and I'm just cruising along with freedom and ease. And just feel as you're moving, do you have it, use your attention on different parts of you than it was in the beginning? Like maybe instead of just thinking of the arm moving, now you're more aware of what's happening through the middle of you. And just rest. Your legs go long and rest. And feel for the last time how you're giving your weight to the floor. And is there a sense that the floor can be more supportive of you now? So I'm just going to turn up this music a little bit. It's a sound of a drone. What we're going to do is, I just want you to just make this little sound if you want to, or you can listen to it. I'm going to make the sound as so that sound is a vibration that helps us come back into our body as well. So the movement does, and you feel that, you know, the support you have on the floor now, but sound also does this. And by making our own sounds of our body, we're connecting our body with the earth. So just raise your hand if you can hear this music. Okay, right, okay. So we're just finding that drone sound of feeling like you're rooted down into the earth and you're calling on Mother Earth to come and support you at this moment. And feeling that you're like a tree with your branches reaching up into the heavens, and you're opening up, as in this lesson, we've opened up the chest area, so you're breathing in, inspiring the air, bringing it down into your body, right down into your roots. And very gently, when you're ready, bend up your knees and roll to your side and come up to sitting. And then come up to standing. It's good if you know how to get up in the spiral. And watch Danny, he knows how to do it. So he got up very quickly. So Claire, could I just use you to just demonstrate this for people? Just sort of, so this is the way that I teach people to get up from the floor. If you have your knees, see how Claire's got one leg kind of crossed over the other, and the outside leg is bent up a little bit, and she has the hand that's closest to her body on the floor next to her, the other hand out at right angles to the side. And to get up, we're just going to go really slowly, looking down, looking at your hand, following your hand around, feeling how the weight shifts onto your feet. Keep looking down at the floor and bringing the hand across to the other hand and reaching. Your bottom starts to lift up off the floor. You're pushing through your foot and you come up to standing. Come up that way. And you can just come up, Claire, when you're ready. Bring up to standing. It happens so quickly on the Zoom, you can't. Okay, so just standing there, just sensing you're standing. And feeling your feet on the floor, noticing the weight in your feet, and I just can move back a little bit as well. So just doing this little movement of taking the hand down to one side and the hand down to the other side. And as you take the hand down to one side, let's let the heads, I can move back a little, the microphone's gonna let the head slide down to that side and then down to the other side. And one way I like to teach this is to get people to come against a wall. I don't know whether you can see if I turn this around a little bit. I can come with my arm against the wall and just, oops, that's going to be in the way. And I can just reach up the wall like this. You can see with Claire, how she's doing this. So the weight is going onto the leg that's closest to the wall, and you can slide the other arm down. Slide the other arm down. And then you could just let the hip twist a little bit as well. This is what we did in this lesson. So you get this idea of this. And then if you turn the other way, turn around the other way and do the movement from this side. And then come standing facing the front. So this little movement we actually do when we're walking, like there's this sort of sense of one side's going down, that's the action that happens. And there's all this freedom and space in this upper area here. So we've got, it's almost like we could bring our arms one forward and one back and just do that little movement. And just have a little walk around and just feel how you're feeling, what moves as you're moving, as you're walking. And can you feel any sort of more sense of freedom of movement in this upper thoracic area? And just let's come back and we'll have a little talk about this in the chat. And I'll unmute you. Okay. So how was that lesson for you?
Very nice, thank you, Rhonda.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah. So what did you notice, Anne, when you...
Well, I was starting to get more freedom up around
in that area. Yeah.
This area here.
Yes.
I'll practice it more because I can still feel I'm very held there.
Yes, well, most of us are, because and this is like the minefield of our emotions are stored in this area here. So yeah.
But certainly it was good. I liked it. Thank you.
Yes, I try to pick out lessons that were going to touch the emotional things that were happening or help us to stabilize with these emotions. So it's a nice lesson for doing that. Yeah. Anyone else like to? How did you go, Sue? Just hi to you.
It's great, Rhonda.
Yeah,
Very nice.
Yeah, it's nice to see you.
I feel as though I'm back in the class with different people.
Yeah, different people.
That's great. I've only had Zoom for 4 weeks.
Oh, have you? Okay. So it's a whole new learning curve. Well, good on you. Congratulations for coming on.
It's great. Yeah, I really love it.
Yes, and we can connect in that way, like in a heartfelt way. I think that it's no matter where we are, and in some ways, like I can see you more clearly. I can see all of you, your faces up close now. That when you're in a class, it's not so easy to do. So
Yeah.
How about you, Dan?
Has the advantages, doesn't it?
Yes.
There's a lot of good about doing it this way.
Yes. And you get to see, like I do lots of courses with people overseas that I'd never be able to go, or could never afford to go over to another country and do things. So yeah. Great. So you're outside, Bev, are you?
Yeah, just on the balcony.
On the balcony.
Yeah, I had a nice lot of shade this morning.
Oh, okay.
So yeah. I was looking at the sky and the clouds. I thought, I should do this more often.
Yes, yeah. And that connection with the earth that we need at this time.
Well, I'm up high, but I'm sitting on the ceramic tiles, so that's a bit earthy, I think.
Yeah.
And the pot plants around with a bit of dirt in it, so there you go.
That sounds lovely.
Yeah.
I've been walking a lot. It's my sanity break, sort of. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yes.
It's good.
Yes, I think at this time, needing to take care of ourselves, to lift our energy, so we're not caught in it's like the 3D reality where all the fear is happening. How do we do things for ourselves to support us so that we keep in our kind of higher vibration so that we can cope with what's happening? Yeah.
My jaw was clenched when I started, but now it's really good and free. So
good. That's good. Yeah.
Great. Yeah.
It's interesting, the connection between the jaw and what's happening here, because we
relax.
Yeah, this journey from the heart to the mouth to the throat is the longest. Moshe used to say this is the area that takes the longest to integrate this whole upper thoracic area, and it's one of the longest journeys from the heart to the expression of ourselves, so expressing our real feelings rather than holding everything in.
Okay. Yeah, I found that my lower ribs at the back, the side, very like the waist area ribs, they're the tightest.
Okay.
On one side.
Yes. Did anyone else notice one side was tighter than the other?
Yeah. Very much so.
Yeah. So we're, like with my daughter, she's been at the computer, on the phone, doing, and so all this was just, and sort of kind of like just bracing yourself to do it, to be working and stuff, and just sort of, letting your body unwind, and and it doesn't actually take much, just a couple of minutes, just reminding ourselves once we do the lessons a few times. Yeah. That's where I hold, and this is what I can do to help myself. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, I hadn't realised how locked up I was. And at the beginning, it felt like both sides were really locked up, and I hadn't been aware of that. But at the end, I'm realising how the left side is, the right side is now unlocked, and the left side is about half unlocked.
Okay, so you need to play with a little bit more.
But I'll go put some heat on that. And I'll do the exercise again later in the day, I think.
Yes.
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
That was really, really helpful. Thank you.
Oh, good, Claire. Yeah. Claire is a wonderful yoga teacher. I met her in Mullaney when I lived there, and just we had lovely connection, and it was wonderful. Always connecting with you, Claire. So lovely to have you here.
Thank you, Rhonda. Lovely to see all the new faces. You're all the Brisbane students, aren't you?
Well, Anne was
sometimes student.
Yeah, sometimes. And Anne was in Mullaney as well. Her mum lived there?
Yes, she did. Yeah. But I live down at Burleigh Heads, so that's where I am.
Yeah. So Anne used to come up for Feldenkrais doesn't seem
That's
so.
interesting. Where are we all today? I'm in Caloundra. Rhonda's in Brisbane.
I'm in Brisbane.
I'm in Brisbane.
Brisbane.
I'm in Brisbane.
Yeah.
And it's in Brisbane. Bev, you're in Brisbane.
We are Brisbane. Yeah.
Yeah.
St. Lucia.
Yeah. So, yeah. That's the beauty of it. You can have people all over the world if you wanted to.
Yeah,
really just sort of,
very interesting.
Yes. Yeah. So how are you, Danny, today? How was that lesson?
Going well. Yeah, no, all under control.
Yeah.
You know what I'm like. Take it easy.
Danny is in the class at the relaxation centre, and he organises all the lights and helps me do lots of things. So, yeah. He's often the only man in the class.
Yeah, we all have our jobs to do.
We all have the jobs.
It all
Good to
runs
see you, Danny.
smoothly.
Yeah.
Good on you, Sue.
Yes.
Yes.
Sue's also in the class at the relaxation. You've been coming for years, haven't you, Sue?
Yes. It does me so much good. Yeah.
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 That's
So,
something good.
Yeah. I've also only had Zoom for about 4 weeks.
good.
Have you?
So
yeah.
It's been quite a challenge. And when something goes wrong, I just assume it's something at my end, and sometimes it isn't. Sometimes it's that,
Yeah.
it was something at the host's end, and I couldn't get into the meeting, and I noticed I just gave up and said, "Oh, it's me. I can't do it."
Yes.
And then the host rang me and said, "Oh, there's a problem at my end." So I'm like, okay. Oh, other people. It's not always me then. Yeah.
No.
I just assume it's me because I'm not very good with the technology.
Yes. There's a lot you can just ask somebody, like ask Google or ask Zoom. Lots of help. That's what I've found.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just want to share a screen with you. I just have a beautiful painting that I'll just see if I can do this. This is a new thing for me to share my desktop. Share the desktop. Do that. Oops, no, I don't want to do that. This is what I wanted to show you, this thing here. I'm going to open it up. Can you see that?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So it's like there's the world, and it's a spiral.
Yeah.
Pattern. And then all the different cultures, all the indigenous people all over the world, and this sort of so what this time of the pandemic is everybody's in the same, we're all going through it. Nobody's exempt. The rich can't buy their way out of it, or no one can. We're all affected, and the way that we're going to get through it is to all come together as one. Yeah. So that's the divine purpose of it all, that we connect as one. And Feldenkrais is that. It's how do we connect everything as one? How do we find this spiral within our body? So this lesson was that spiral. The one we did last week with the reaching is that spiral. So how do we remember our divine design, our connection of who we really are? So I'll see if I can send you that photo. I think it's a painting by somebody or other. It's just really.
Yeah, I can see the original person center bottom.
Yes. Yeah. So it's like it's bringing us back to the earth, to caring for one another, to caring for our earth and things.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, it is lovely, isn't it? Okay, so I'm going to stop this share now and come back to. Okay, so
that's nice.
Is there anything else anyone wanted to say?
No, just thank you very much again.
Yeah,
much appreciated.
Yeah,
it's great. Yeah.
It's lovely to have you, to someone to play with, and I hope it helps.
Yeah,
it's my.
I think that's it, isn't it? Connecting with people.
Yes. So I'll make a recording of this for you, and I've also got the notes here, so I'll send you those so you can have those.
I just talked to Danny. Danny, have you got Julie hooked on it too?
No, she's outside doing something else.
Oh, is she?
I thought we might have had a new recruit.
Oh, no, she lets me do my thing and she does hers, so that's fine.
So I just probably I think that the main thing about at this time we're in, can we come back to our body? It's so important to because what's happening in the world is affecting our body. We're part of the earth and we're part of everything. So Feldenkrais gives us also a wonderful opportunity to come back and embody ourselves. And I think I sent you the links to Alan Questel's lessons a while ago. Just I might do it again if I haven't, but he gives 2 free lessons a week. Did you get them, Claire?
I don't know.
No, I'll send you a link to them because there's some really lovely, they're beautiful lessons. He's an amazing teacher who he has that embodied, that sort of grounded presence anyway, and when he teaches, that comes through. So he always helps me just drop back. His voice just helps me to drop back into my body, and the lessons he chooses are really designed to do that. And
is it on Zoom like this?
Or? No, they're just they're lessons that you can just download yourself and put them. I've got mine in iTunes. You know, I just put them into you can download them. You can hear it, yeah.
Just hear it, you don't see it.
No.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, there might have been something there. I'll have another look.
Yes, and there's another lady, Cynthia Allen, who's done the Bones for Life on Zoom. So she's got 2 things. I'll see what I can find to send you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So this link that we had today, you can use again next week.
Great.
For 4 weeks. So yeah. Did you have to use the password, or could you just get in today?
I had to use the password.
I had to use the Feldy password.
Yeah, good.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Someone told me that's reasonably new, that you've got to use the password.
It is. It's only last week I didn't realise that, and some people couldn't get in. So
no, I couldn't get in.
Yeah. So you've got the password and you've got the link, and I'll send something out this week, and I'll send you out the recording when I make it. And
I'll write that on.
Thank you, Rhonda.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Thanks again.
Thank you
See
again.
you next week.
Thank
you so much, Rhonda.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
If anyone wants to stay, I'll turn the recording off. But if you want to
Bye,
stay, if anyone wants to stay and chat, I'll be here for a little bit. So.